If you want to skip buddy time and go right to the horror game itself, go to the timestamp right here. Hey friends, it's wonderful to see you. It's time for another disturbing adventure together. Today we're playing a horror game called Romancing Flesh, and it's a photorealistic horror game about disturbing experimentations. As always, before we get started with the playthrough, let's have buddy time. And for today's buddy time, I have a story I'd like to share. If you're a fan of wrestling like me, and I know, Big Gaming bringing up wrestling again, there was a huge match years ago where Brock Lesnar defeated The Undertaker and broke his WrestleMania streak. This also gave The Undertaker a massive real-life concussion, and this, combined with his age, caused him to lose his confidence. He stopped feeling like he could deliver in the ring. He felt like a shell of his old self, like he couldn't make any of the fans happy anymore. And it took others reminding him who he was for him to gain his confidence back, for him to start believing in himself again. I think this is a very human thing, and I struggle with confidence issues all of the time, especially with the channel. Every single week, I struggle with this idea that I'm not making things you guys enjoy anymore, that I'm washed up, that I don't have it in me. I'm really trying not to as often, but if I'm being honest with myself, yeah, it's every week. I just feel like I'm not enough. But it's okay because I have my brother and my mom who I'll talk to, and they'll tell me how proud they are of me. They'll say, Zach, you're doing a good job. You gotta push that negativity out of your mind and focus on the good. And it works. It helps. But what about you? Who's telling you to keep your confidence, to believe in yourself? Friends, I am here today to remind you of something. Never lose that spark. Hold on to it no matter what the circumstances are. You are doing a much better job than you think you are. So maybe to help, every morning, and we can do this together, let's wake up and remind ourselves of a few things. You can do this, you have the ability, and you are good enough. You are, even on the days where you feel like your lowest self. I love you all and I hope you're safe. Welcome to Romancing Flesh. Okay, friends, and here we have Romancing Flesh. I've been very into, like, disturbing horror visual novels recently, so we're continuing that trend here. And here we go. The warden wants to see you. I guess we start off in jail? Follow me. Delisle Correctional Institute, 1946. This looks more like a castle than a correctional institute. He's all yours, sir. I guess this is the warden here. You're relieved, Jeremiah. Best get home to the missus. Thank you, sir. I don't know. This might be a very over-the-top silly voice, but we're gonna try it. I've transformed Delisle Correctional Institute from a dingy county jail to one of the top facilities in the country. Did you know that? I didn't do that just by imprisoning small-time crooks, murderers, and thieves, no sir. Over the years, I've curated a very specific type of prisoner. Deviants. Deviants? You calling me a deviant? I'm currently imprisoned in your jail. They're not like you or me. Okay, so not me. Sickos, perverts, communists, whatever you want to call them, they can't be rehabilitated because they're barely human to begin with. And the strangest part is, you think every part of their brain is broken, but they can still feel shame. A father of 3 will try to shoot you dead if you accuse him of putting on dresses and having sex with bellboys. And hell, even my own mother was a goddamn suffragette, but me or dad would have beat the snot out of her if we found that out before she croaked on us. Okay, an extremely bigoted prison warden. Can't say that's the first time I've seen that before. It's a difficult thing to get confessions from these freaks. Now, normally when a district attorney needs a bit more time to build a case against one of these deviants, they'll rush them through the courts on some trumped-up charge, keep them in prison for a while, and hopefully buy enough time to build a case. But if they can't, Delisle Correctional Institute will get a confession from them. We've read the works of Froude, Moreno, and Watson, reproduced the experiments of Pavlov and Skinner, and consulted with Wortham, Miller, and Jung. And we've distilled them all into an effective methodology that loosens the prisoner's tongue, while leaving them free of the physical cuts and bruises that don't play well to the judges and juries. Real humane-like. Something tells me it's actually quite the opposite of humane, but you know what? Let's see what they're actually doing here. But listen to me ramble on. The reason I brought you here is because your cellmate, Mr. Charles Keating, he's one of those deviants. My cellmate? So, I'm the only non-deviant in the prison? We've tried our best to build a psychological profile on him, find a proper plan of attack, but Mr. Keating managed to run out the clock on us. Mr. Keating will have served his sentence as of midnight tonight. Unless we get a confession in the next few hours. If you want to read these documents from the U.S. Attorney's Office, or I want you to read these documents, if you believe anything in these documents can be used to get a confession out of Mr. Keating, we need to know. In return, if you merely read these documents, even if you don't find anything, we'll consider your sentence served. Really? I just need to read them? I don't even need to advise you? But poor Mr. Keating, we don't know anything about him. We're just hearing about Mr. Keating from the warden. I know it sounds too good to be true. Anything you can tell us might be the key to keeping this monster behind bars. He doesn't fit into the world. He belongs with me. Okay, Mr. Warden. Let's see what you've got. Drag an object to move it, click it to view. I guess these are the files on Mr. Keating here. Okay. Looks like a car from around the 1940s time period. Nothing unusual. But this looks like diagrams of some branches that would have fallen off a big pine cone tree I had in my childhood home. I used to see little branches like this all the time. And then we have like a cellular diagram too. Interesting. I don't know what this is or why it's so torn up. But this, I guess, is just... I mean, maybe it's a home, but what is this giant sunroom in here? It seems like someone was, I guess, studying these specific types of plants or something. Let's read the note first. Dearest Mother, the bus trip is a bit longer and more uncomfortable than I was expecting, but I should be in Alabama within a few days. I've called Dr. Petrov's office, and he assures me his facility is a few hours outside of Fayette, so I'm not as far from civilization as I feared. I may have to forgo the nightly edition of the paper, but we all must make deep sacrifices in times of war. Please remind Father that Dr. Petrov's work is being funded by the U.S. Army, and although I won't exactly be one of the tough SOBs marching into Hirohito's palace, I'll be an active contributor to the war effort. So that seems to be a very important thing to the father. I wonder if us not pursuing a military life was disappointing to our dad, in a way. I don't know. Who knows? I'm saying are like we're this character, and we're not. Besides, I hear if I were a service member, the letters I send you would look like Swiss cheese, and we don't want to exacerbate your lactose intolerance. Funny. I hope this letter finds you in better spirits than when I left, and in worse spirits than when I'm there. Your loving son, Charles. Okay, so this was written by Charles Keating. And now I want to see this. Recording dated February 12th, 1942. Oh, look at that. Look at the way the character models move, or I guess the character graphics. It actually makes it look like almost hyper-realistic, but also surrealist in a way. Hello? Dr. Petrov! So, okay. So this is probably Charles, and the other guy is Petrov. Okay. I'm sorry for the call. The bus trip has taken a bit longer than I was expecting, but I should be there in a couple more days. That's fine. I'm still setting up the lab, and most of my supply shipments will be arriving late as well. You should be in town just in time to help me get everything up and running, so the letter was written around the same time. Whew, good. Is there anything I should brush up on before I get to the lab? I managed to grab a decent selection of medical journals while I was in Boston. Plant cellular structure. Oh. Okay. What? The nature of the work we'll be doing is a bit cross-disciplinary. I trust your medical knowledge is up to date, but I need to make sure you've brushed up on some of the basics of botany. I suppose I could visit a bookstore while we're at a stop. A newsstand should have some periodicals. No need for the latest journals, Mr. Keating. You don't need to know the latest scientific learnings, but you should be able to write and illustrate a grade school textbook on basic plant biology with your eyes closed before you get here. I'll make sure to study hard on the trip over. Good lad. And if you could bring a tin of real coffee, I'd appreciate it. We're down to the stuff cut with chicory down here. Ugh. I'll try my best, sir. See you in a few days. Click. Oh, I forgot to ask if it was alright for me to record the call. Well, depending on the state, that may or may not be illegal. Okay. So there we go. We I guess we learned that there's some sort of plant-related thing that Dr. Petrov is studying, and we still don't really know, like, what Mr. Keating and Dr. Petrov end up doing together in terms of their research. We'll find out. Science is a poor pursuit for young men. Too much infatuation with the new and novel, with no room to appreciate the refuge of tradition. Yeah, this seems like a guy that would say something like that. Quite frankly, Mr. Keating should have seen what was coming next. Well, what was coming next? Okay. Oh. Okay. This is a plant made up of, I guess, skin? A mouth with a mustache around it and toes and fingers. What the hell kind of plants is Dr. Petrov studying? I don't understand this. And I don't even know what I'm looking at here. It just looks like mud. March 8th, 1942. This is subject 42 FA5, and it's time for her meal. Okay, so for some reason it just skips over this one automatically, but it says, the FA series will generally require a fly every few hours until it fully blooms, and after which it only needs flies for the occasional vitamins. It seems to be able to sense when the fly is near, but further experimentation will be needed to determine how. Well, it doesn't have any eyes. It's got basically everything else you could imagine. Ugh. And then this is it, like, pulsating when the fly is near. Ugh. Okay. Notice here she swallows the fly whole, crushing it inside of its stomach. Once it starts growing teeth in a few days, she'll switch to chewing as it conserves a bit more energy. Ugh. Again, what are we studying? Okay, can I look? Is this like a separate tape? Recording date, March 3rd, 1942. There, we're recording now. I don't want to be recorded. Now what the hell did you get me involved with, Dr. Petrov? It's a flower, Charles. Okay. It has teeth! Yes, the teeth were unexpected, but look how evenly they grew in. The dentistry isn't the issue, Dr. Petrov. What you're doing is unethical. How exactly is it unethical? You ripped apart a living, breathing thing to make... Mr. Keating, this isn't a butcher's shop. I'm not hacking and stitching animals together like cheap circus attractions. I grew this flower from a blastocyst. I fertilized the egg by needle injection in my lab. What do you mean, grew? Before it reaches the embryonic stage, you can count the number of cells inside a blastocyst by hand. If you have an expensive microscope, a small needle, and lots of time, you can even identify what each of those individual cells would grow and divide into. So, I take those individual cells, and instead of letting it grow into a monkey, I manually remove what I don't want it to grow, and rearrange what I do want to grow. But why turn it into that? You read those botany books like I told you to, yes? Yes. Very simple structures, aren't they? Most of the plant is made up of the same type of cell. No complicated organ system, no skeletal structure, no need for a centralized brain. If I took these pre-embryonic masses of cells and just rearranged them willy-nilly, I'd create thousands of malformed failures before I stumbled on a useful form. So instead, I used plant structures as a basis to rearrange the cells, and the results have been astounding. So I guess it's just due to the simplicity of the plant structures. Just a few more rows of my pseudo-plant cell design, and it not only maintains the structure, but continues growing it naturally, like the animal cells can remember their plant roots. Pardon the pun, of course. But you're missing the point. You're not growing a new life, you're forcing something to suffer from its own birth. They don't suffer, Charles. I've been analyzing their brain patterns. They use so little energy to grow, their brains default to a dream state, a calm, peaceful sleep. How can you be so sure? It's 1946. And then we'll be killing them for their meat. Yes, but someday I'll design them to grow as large as trees, shedding meat like apples of their branches, living for hundreds of years. A forest of these trees will negate the need to raise animals for slaughter, ending a 10,000-year genocide of innocent creatures. I already bought a plot of land a bit further north for when I'm ready to grow them. I thought it would take decades for me to make something like this, but then I found you. I've read your paper on atypical embryonal development, and it felt like a practical extension of my own work on the tetralogy of plants and animals. Apologies for the mispronunciation. That paper was on birth defects, Petrov. I can't do that to animals on purpose. What's evolution if not a series of beneficial birth defects? What would take a thousand generations and dead ends to spontaneously develop, we could grow overnight. While other scientists are trying to fix the problems nature gave us, we'll design a sustainable future for the planet. Well, it should be a future without biting flowers, at least. But maybe you could isolate the stomach and rearrange the structure like a Venus flytrap? A Venus flytrap? See, I'm glad I recorded that because I'm out of pen ink. Tape shut off. This is a lot to take in just in the second file we've read. I'm kind of curious what you all think of this, like, disturbing body horror information kind of jumping out of the screen at you. This is a lot, and it seems like Dr. Petrov's, I guess, intentions are good, but I don't know, this makes me uneasy. Dear Aunt Sonia, happy birthday. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person this year, but I hope my package arrived in time for the party. Work has been busier than expected. I'm sorry if my last few letters gave the impression that I can be frank about the work I'm doing, but now that the lab is fully operational and the experiments have started in earnest, I realize some self-censorship on my part will be required. In the vaguest terms possible, my work involves supplementing the Army's diet with quick and cheap meat, but Dr. Petrov has some lofty goals for where the research could lead. I'm sorry to say your sister's son attended college to become a glorified sausage maker, but it's not the worst place war could have taken me. That being said, Dr. Petrov is very passionate about the work we're doing. It's miles different from the lab work at Tufts College. There's a half dozen experiments in different stages of development, and every day I'm learning something new. It's frantic and fast-paced, but energizing. It'll be a while before we're manufacturing canned meats, but I could probably trade you some jerky for your homemade fudge by next Christmas. Your loving nephew, Charles. So Charles, ever the optimist, at least in terms of the letters, is trying to stay positive. Okay, here's this again. Feeding another fly. Ugh. Now men like you or I, we would know better. When the witch in the woods welcomes you into her gingerbread house, you don't accept the invitation. You throw her into the fire. Yeah, but oh my god, what are we getting into? I have a feeling the kinds of people that the warden would refer to as a witch are just good people. Just people. This guy seems to only view people as people if they fit into his narrow-minded worldview. Okay, what am I even looking at? This looks like a barnacle. This doesn't even look like, or like coral or something. Friends, I don't even know what I'm looking at here. I was looking for like human body parts, but this isn't that. And then again, am I supposed to assume that this is human skin and maybe some fingers here? I don't know. Recording dated August 24th, 1942. Okay, it's on. Say that again, Charles. Chimera? Huh, yes, but the whole thing, you drunk. The entire thing you said. The whole thing again. I guess they're having a party? Okay. The plant animals we've been growing tend to be fairly small for a lot of reasons. We've only grown them from a single rearranged blastocyst. We've only allowed them for a few weeks to reach maturity. The plants can't grow faster than the animal's parts it came from would. Yes, but get to the important part. Okay, so our experiments with grafting have been failures. But instead of trying to graft during adulthood, we can simply make our pre-embryonic blueprints bigger by using more blastocysts. And this wouldn't result in rejection because, well, we have well-documented cases of siblings ingesting other smaller embryos in the womb, resulting in the embryo containing cells from both siblings, chimeras. We will merely start the stage in the process even earlier and assemble larger plants. Okay. This is gonna turn into some, like, Resident Evil out-of-control growth scenario. Now, that implies we can only use genetic siblings to build these plants. I assume we can't use other animals too genetically unsimilar? We could certainly experiment and find out. I'd certainly like to see a rabbit pigeon dandelion or something. You blow on it and a bunch of seeds will fly out on rabbit ear wings. You see, inspiration can strike at any time, Charles. We could have forgotten all about this in the morning. Yes, fine, I can see the merits of your little recording device there. Oh, another idea! What if you made plant animals that interconnected with each other, like pieces of a puzzle piece? You could have one plant specifically designed to collect and refine nutrients, which can feed a second plant that can just focus on growing bigger. That's a strange place to need a mouth, Charles. Wherever you'd like to put your mouth is fine to me, Dr. Petrov. Whoa. What was that? Oh, yes, just a little joke. Let's call it a night. Okay, was that an attempt at flirting, Mr. Keating? I guess we have had a few, so maybe the air is looser and you're flirting with our doctor here, but, maybe that was a bit forward for a first time, flirt. I'd, draw it in just a little bit. You aren't recording this by any chance, are you? Tape shut off. Okay. Good lord, that was an extremely forward joke there, Mr. Keating. Okay, so we listened to this, but what is this? Yeah, I don't even know what I'm looking at, because this looks like butterfly wings almost, but I don't think they're experimenting with insects. Okay. Dear Cousin Delilah, I've been paying extra to get the hometown paper shipped down here in Alabama, and I read that you won a blue ribbon for your peanut butter fudge at the county fair last month. You must be absolutely over the moon. I can relate to a lesser extent. As I've told you in my last correspondence, I'm finally getting the hang of the work, which must be secret, and I've managed to make a breakthrough of my own. Essentially, for the past year, I've been trying to perfect Dr. Petrov's recipes. He'll make some sort of new confectionery, and when he feels like I'm ready, I'll go through the hard work of perfecting it. A little less flour here, a little more baking powder there, just trying to get the ratios perfect. But I've finally made a recipe of my own. I hope someday I can share it with you and the rest of the family, and make you as proud as you all make me, especially the ribbon winners among you. With love, Charles. I love that idea of, propping up your loved one's achievements just as much as your own. That's amazing. P.S. Take heed. Your mother won't stay the number 2 baker in the family for long, and she'll make everyone in the family fat with fudge until she's reclaimed her crown. If they'd stopped there, we might be hailing them as gastronomic pioneers. Heck, I might have eaten a ribeye salad for dinner tonight. But I think they wanted more than food. Oh, God. Oh. What is that? It looks like... I mean, maybe it's just mystery meat? I don't know. This is a rabbit with some kind of a slug thing feeding off of it? Is this the thing that's just trying to become larger? Like they were mentioning in the tape? And then here I can see what looks like animal fur. These kind of resemble small fingers. I don't know. There's a lot here that could be animal. But I find it interesting how the later we go on into these specimen, the more and more they still just look like plants. But as you take a closer look, you can see some of the animal parts inside of them, rather than the first example looking very much animal. Recording dated November 20th, 1942. Audio log 10:30:42. We may have hit a snag with the rabbit experiment. Are you recording a log on the rabbit experiment? It's just a lover spat, Sergey. What is going on? They'll be back together in no time. The rabbit's new leg bit it, Charles. I warned you this might happen if we didn't engineer both of the animals together that way. Oh, its own leg bit it. Olna was a little confused, that's all. Let Jack settle down for a couple days, and I'm sure he'll take Olna back. After seeing how quickly Jack took to his new leg, I was more than happy to let this whole thing keep going. But is this necessarily the best thing for both of them? Olna can move around on their own, and so can Jack. They're not wholly dependent on one another. Maybe we could just let them stay friends. Just stay friends? This experiment almost feels like it's kind of mimicking a real-life relationship. We should really be focusing on our real work. Plus, this is starting to veer off both of our areas of expertise. Let's just call the experiment off for now. You want to call it off, Sergey? Notice how we're referring to Dr. Petrov by his first name now. Well, maybe I should take your advice and engineer a new symbiote for Olna then. A new partner might solve Olna's problems. Well, we don't know what sort of effect that'll have on Jack, mentally speaking. Again, Charles, this is all very new to me. Everything we've been doing here has been new to me. Some of the new experimental organisms, a novel discovery, some unexpected result. And it is exciting, don't get me wrong. But it's nice to have someone reliable in all that chaos, who is also a little exciting himself. I think they're really talking about each other here. And I'm glad that person has been you. I think Mr. Keating has like real feelings for Dr. Petrov here. Maybe we can keep the Jack and Olna experiment going. We can pick up the discussion in the morning if you'd prefer. Tape shut off. I mean, they're clearly doing an actual experiment here, but it's like they're talking about two things at the same time. Dear Great Uncle Anthony, I tried recreating your famous dry rub mix. Some of the ingredients were hard to come by, rationing and all that, but I think we managed to get a close approximation. We threw a little backyard barbecue for the neighborhood to taste test our first production batch of meat, and it was a resounding success. This whole experience has given me a newfound appreciation for the time I spent on your farm when I was younger. Dr. Petrov nearly fainted during the butchering process, leaving me to do it all on my own. He reminded me of the time you put Clarabelle chicken on my dinner plate. Please write back when you have the chance. I'm dying to hear how the rest of the family is doing. Your city slicker grandnephew, Charles. Everything you've read so far is what I've had to scrape and scrounge to get from government files. So you've already read all the juicy stuff. The rest is the boys in blue mopping up. Okay. And what is that going to entail? Oh my god, they did it. They grew an actual... I mean, this is a bamboo, it looks like, but... They grew an actual tree-sized plant-animal organism, and they are lighting it on fire. Oh my god. Incident report narrative. On the above date, P.O. Daniels responded to a call about an escaped animal. Upon finding the loose cow, P.O. Daniels saw its mouth was covered in blood. Upon closer inspection, the grass the cow was eating was some kind of malformed rat stuck in the ground. After calling for backup, officers discovered a sizable acreage of buried deformed animals. Mr. Keating became agitated, and in response, officers were forced to put him into submission. Mr. Petrov was taken into custody for questioning. For health and safety reasons, it was decided to humanely dispatch the animals before bringing Mr. Petrov and Mr. Fielding into custody. Okay, move that to the side. Memo from the Office of Redacted. As my JAG officer has previously claimed on my behalf, Dr. Sergei Petrov was awarded a government contract from General Blank, who died at blank during blank, resulting in a transition period in which most of Petrov's work of an already secretive nature was done with little to no oversight until my office was made aware of it. Unfortunately, my upcoming absolvement may result in many more officers lower along the chain of command being found at fault. Officers you do not want to bring to court during these desperate times. Considering the improbability of systemic failure within the U.S. Armed Forces, I suggest we propose the possibility that foreign agents were involved under the specific circumstances Petrov was working as a contractor. A treason charge would take him outside of U.S. military jurisdiction and tried as a civilian. You're welcome, blank. Okay, and last but not least, to Redacted. Mr. Keating and I are currently in Fayette County Jail. I believe the police have set fire to most of our work. I tried to save as much of our work as possible. Is this written from Dr. Petrov? I tried to save as much of our work as possible, but please send copies of all the records I've sent so far to your offices, and if you have any internal copies of your correspondence, please send those as well. We've made remarkable progress in the last few months, and I believe if we act quickly, we can still reach our first production deadline. Thank you, Dr. Sergei Petrov. And this was to the redacted person he was working for? We live in a delicate world in a fragile time. This is not an era for radical new ideas. We just fought a long and hard war to reestablish the grand order of the world, for heaven's sake. And on American soil, a couple of dandy bookworms were playing God and feeding our diseased meat to our children? I couldn't stand it. Yeah, again, you can think the experiments are disturbing and terrifying because they are, but it's clear that the warden just hates them because they love each other, ultimately. And he keeps hinting to the fact that, you know, not needing new ideas. He's against progress, basically. And we can see that right here. So I took a leaf from Mr. Petrov's playbook. I psychologically tore Mr. Keating apart and reformed and re-educated him as I saw fit. Into you. Wait, what? In the disassociated state you're in, Mr. Keating, it gives you a sense of clarity, doesn't it? You can see what I see. I swear to God, when I made that mistake at the beginning, I did not know that we were actually Mr. Keating. Big Fortune Teller 64. Why didn't your family ever write you back? Why did your lover try to rescue his work instead of you? If you leave this prison tonight, where can you go? Do I click one of these? You know the answers. You know why you need to sign this confession. You know why you're here. Why you need to stay behind bars. It didn't make sense that we were the only non-deviant under the warden's definition in the prison. We didn't even remember being brought here. You left home and traveled across the country, hoping you'd change into some sort of person your family would miss. But instead of doing something to make them proud, you decided to pursue what made you happy, and you became a sick caricature of everything your parents hated about you in the first place. A mama's boy sticking his meat in the dirt, hoping it'd grow. Sign the confession. If you leave this prison now, you'll undo all the work I've done for you. You'll fall back into bad habits and become the same person you were 3 years ago. And none of us would want that, would you? No. I don't want to change back, Warden. I've made so much progress. It was hard fabricating the equipment necessary to continue Dr. Petrov's work, but you wouldn't believe how fruitful my experiments have become. What's happening? And quite frankly, I like the person I've become. Holy crap. Do we get to see? It took me months to find you. You didn't answer when I called your name. Dr. Petrov turned himself into one of those meat trees he was talking about. From a distance, I almost couldn't recognize you. But I found you. I hope you're dreaming of me. Drinking from the brook. Eating the fruit from your branches. Huddling from rain and sleet in your safe embrace. And someday, in a brief moment of lucidity, maybe you'll read this message and know that I'm gone. You wanted us to change the world, and we did. Starting with ourselves. I'll always remember you fondly. Love, Charles. The end. A very melancholic ending, but really this was not just a story about scientific experimentation. It was a love story that took place, I think taking place in the 1940s was very intentional, being in an even more bigoted time, and it seemed that the love that Mr. Keating and Dr. Petrov had for each other obviously was hated. And they were not only hiding the experiments from the world, they were hiding that. And all in all, they wanted to just be their true selves and be in love with each other, while also following their passion. Now, the world kind of hating what they were doing, and I guess hating them as well, pushed them to continue their experiments on themselves. I guess the cops broke in, tore the whole place down, and they wanted to continue those experiments on their own bodies, and then it ends in this kind of sad, twisted reality where they both did that. And at the end, like Mr. Keating says, I hope you're dreaming of me. I hope you're drinking from the brook, because Dr. Petrov said at the beginning, oh, they're actually in a dream state. They're not suffering, which we don't really know that. But yeah, interesting how those two stories kind of go parallel with each other. And we saw the kind of hatred from the warden was not just from him. It was really from the world around them was kind of, carrying that same hatred. I imagine the family in some aspects was as well. And all Charles wanted was to be loved and accepted. Friends, thank you all so much for joining me on this journey. I love you all very much. Please be safe, and I'll see you in the next one.